The U.S. military has successfully test-launched an intercontinental ballistic missile from California.
The Air Force said Wednesday's test was not a response to recent North Korean actions, but shows that America's nuclear enterprise is safe, secure, effective, and ready to be able to deter, detect, and defend against attacks on the United States and its allies. Winifred Ajewole has more.
The show of might between the United States and North Korea is far from over. Just a week ago, President Trump criticized China for not doing enough to stop North Korea from its missile program after the latter launched a second intercontinental ballistic missile on Friday, claiming it can reach the U.S. The two subsequent launches of long-range missiles in July demonstrated that North Korea has joined the small group of countries capable of hitting not only Alaska and Hawaii, but also the lower 48 with a nuclear warhead. In response to the test, the US and South Korea held a joint live-fire exercise Saturday morning. And on Sunday, it shot down a medium-range target ballistic missile in its latest test of the country's third missile defense program, which is designed to protect the country against potential threats from countries such as North Korea and Iran. When asked about the strategy that will be used against North Korea, President Trump says his administration will handle everything. Although the U.S. has slammed sanctions on the Asian country, its continuous missile tests, especially the most recent, shows that Pyongyang's missile program may be more advanced than previously thought. While the U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson says the U.S. is willing to talk to North Korea, Senator Lindsey Graham says military options are inevitable if North Korea continues on its current path of weapon development.
We initiated a sustained and continued intensified campaign on what I like to call peaceful pressure, because the options available to us, I think, as all of you well understand, are limited, and particularly if we think we are operating under a short period of time. So we felt the appropriate thing to do first was to seek peaceful pressure on the regime in North Korea to have them develop a willingness to sit and talk with us and others, but with an understanding that a condition of those talks is there is no future where North Korea holds nuclear weapons or the ability to deliver those nuclear weapons to anyone in the region, much less to the homeland.
And with Pyongyang months away from realizing its goal of developing a nuclear weapon capable of reaching the United States, Trump and his military leaders are considering a more forceful approach. Winifred Ajewole, TVC News.
What's really going on?
All right, that's the background to our discussion right now. We have joining us in the studio Cyril Abaku, Head Research, TV Continental.
Foreign.
Right, nice to have you on, Cyril.
Thanks, Mike and Azizat.
Now, I know you've been following developments in the Korean Peninsula, and one wonders, really, this tension between the United States and North Korea, and then North Korea and its neighbors, South and Japan. And all of that. What do you foresee, really, coming out of all of this?
Well, I think that the possibility of military action in North Korea by the United States and by extension its allies is gaining more and more momentum. And this is not being helped by North Korea's posturing. Even this morning, I think there was a statement issued by the Chinese condemning the test and saying that there was no need to escalate tensions in the region. But it has gone beyond condemning the test, which is what China has always done. You know, it's important that we need to ask ourselves the basic question: should North Korea continue with this nuclear program or not? I think if the Koreans, even if today North Korea says that they're going to put a stop to it, tensions are going to de-escalate as fast as possible. But with the way it is going, I'm not a military advisor, but even if I was in the same room with the Americans, I wouldn't take off military action off the table. I won't, because the North Korean program is being directly customized and tailored to hit targets in the United States. That's a no-no. I mean, if you look at what happened in 1962 during the Cuban Missile Standoff, it was a war of nations that had been allies. Okay, I think as far back as 1933, the Soviet Union and the United States had diplomatic relations. And then in World War II, again, you know, they were allies against Germany. So coming into the Cuban crisis, they had already had common grounds. They understood each other's language. But what is going on between North Korea and the United States is a different ballgame entirely. On two fronts. One is the fact that whether it's just a mere ego ride, or perhaps the North Korean leader needs the nuclear program as a form of legitimacy of his own reign, you know, and the reign of his fathers and forefathers in North Korea. The other fact is that, you know, the Chinese and the Russians, who perhaps cannot openly confront the United States on certain issues, find expression in what North Korea is doing to check the US. But unfortunately, I think that the North Korean threat is too direct in the face of the United States for the US to take military action off the table.
All right, but will that augur well for the United States and its allies? We'll let you talk more about that, but at this time, let's bring in Foladele to tell us what people are saying about all of this online. Good morning, Foladele.
Good morning, Aziza.
Well, nice to see you.
Good morning, Mike.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Cyril. All right, so let's find out what people are saying, and not just about this, but of course about this. This is something that has gone on for a while now, so let's see what people are saying about what they think the implications of this tension will be. Aliza Motel says, you shouldn't underestimate the threat of North Korea, though US is undeniably the world's strongest and toughest military power. Kale says, it just seems that for years North Korea has threatened with missiles but has never actually done anything. Cosmo Brand says, and this is at Real Donald Trump, says, thank you, Mr. Trump, for your service. We, America, are behind you 100%. Please don't let North Korea blow us up. I'm scared. Victory says, you're giving North Korea, and this is, of course, at the president again, you're giving North Korea the chance to attack the beautiful White House and America next year. Psycho Pompous says, anyone advocating U.S. military action against North Korea is essentially saying we should start World War III. And this is something a lot of people have voiced out. This is a concern that a lot of people have voiced out. Jolon Wilson says, don't think Trump will handle North Korea like Obama did. Our lead from behind, that's Obama's handle, allowed the situation to escalate by ignoring it. Cyril. So Wilson here is saying that we're at this point, or not we, but the US and North Korea at this point because the former president, Barack Obama, allowed the situation to escalate by ignoring it.
Yes, I think that, you know, whether it's Obama or because it's the democratic complex of appeasement, you know, what Obama called it was strategic patience. But the fact is that some reports even tell you that the capacity of the North Koreans to have a nuclear head to the ICBM that can hit the US is only months away. I mean, this is really, really serious. So, on the one hand, the CIA director comes out to say that, well, if they can separate Kim Jong-un from the nuclear program,
regime change,
yes, then that would be nice. But Rex Tillerson comes and says no, because he's Secretary of State and he's the face of US diplomacy. He comes to say that, well, that's not what the United States is going to do. We are going to see how we can. And then Lindsey Graham comes and says, look, I've spoken to Donald Trump and we're going to take military action. Somehow they are putting all of these cards on the table. Whichever one, you know, that becomes a fitting bait is going to work.
and President Trump is even talking about handling it.
Yes, but
Now,
you see, my basic concern is this. There is a lot of misunderstanding between North Korea and the United States. And when I mean misunderstanding, there is even a lot of miscommunication.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is supposed to have been a third force, which is where China, Russia, and the Asian nations are supposed to come in. It's good enough that they are going to be holding a summit next week, but also not helped by the standing of a country like the Philippines, who are saying that, look, the man in North Korea is a fool and all of that. But I think that we need to give North Korea an incentive sufficient enough to continue to make Kim Jong-un look like a strong leader, and at the same time making him back up the nuclear horse.
Because previous sanctions in the past never worked. Former President Clinton tried it. It failed. Former President W. Bush tried it. It failed. And then, of course, we know about the strategic patience by the immediate past president of the United States, Barack Obama. Thank you, Foladele, for coming.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, and of course, the last ICBM test by North Korea wasn't indicated the amount or the level of the warhead it carried, because we understand that the heavier the warhead, the slower the ICBM is. So the president, Kim Jong-un, craftily left that details out. So America is working on maybe it can reach Los Angeles, maybe it can reach Washington and other states in the United States. But looking at the kind of person President Trump is, do you think the use of force will be the best at this time and not let it have a terrible effect on South Korea?
Yeah. Well, of course, like you said, terrible effect on South Korea. The scenario is real, and of course, military action is always last case scenario, worst case scenario, as they say. But for me, I will continue to advocate that we need to explore as much diplomacy, the diplomatic channels as possible, which is the reasonable thing to do. Okay, so that by the time anything is going to be done or out of the normal diplomatic channels, people are going to say this was justified anyway. But the fact is that, you see, as it is right now, American satellites are not even able to detect the missile launches. What the North Koreans do is that they have been able to diversify the sources where these tests take place, and these weapons remain underground. And then maybe perhaps some just moments away from when they're going to be launched, they are brought out. Exactly. So American satellites are only able to pick it within moments of this. I mean, you make this whole thing look so scary, serious. So therefore, me, I think that whatever is coming North Korea's way is only being brought upon itself by its own regime. I give an example. This whole arms race, you can accuse America of starting it. Okay, World War II came. World War II had to be fought and and won. Once the war ended, there was need for countries to begin to the arms race began. Iran's nuclear program was begun by the U.S. in 1953. President Dwight Eisenhower said, in order to discourage nations from going into nuclear armament, let's give them uranium for power and for other economic reasons. That was how the Iranian program came to be. And at least even when the accusations came up that Iran was beginning to divert this resource into something else, the argument was made that, look, you gave us this thing and you're only using it for power and for scientific research. But in North Korea's case, they are not a superpower per se. They are just a military power. And they are bent on exercising military force, you know, to
put themselves on the table.
Yes, if you are just being a regional threat, then Japan and South Korea and China and the Philippines and Australia and co, they're going, you know, discussions are going to be more regional. But when you bring, like I watched in one fiction, you know, they said to be dealing in drugs is bad enough. But with pursuing nuclear weapons, you're chasing the devil. That's what North Korea is doing. They are going after hell, and hell could break loose.
Well, we hope the hell doesn't break loose,
for the sake of the
because for the sake of innocent people, even innocent North Koreans who don't even know anything.
People are afraid that it could
exactly.
lead to
Third
World War.
Yes, in the DMZ are also at risk. So I mean, like I said, if this has to be eventually, it might be the last case scenario. But for me, like one person tweeted, I can no longer underestimate Kim Jong-un.
All right. Thank you very much, Cyril Abaku, for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much.
Right.